This is English Time, your journey to English success. In this session, I'm going to talk about signpost words, which are sometimes referred to as transition words as well. So basically, if you look at the picture, you can understand that signpost is a post that bears sign. Here I've chosen the signpost that shows you directions towards New York, London, etc. So when you stand at the signpost, you have directions to the place where you want to go. So signpost is a post that bears directions to show us the way. Okay, so this is what the dictionary also says. A signpost is a post bearing a sign that gives directions or shows the way. Right? Now, you must be wondering what signpost words are. So in the way that signpost shows us direction, signpost words in language are the words that take us or take the listener or reader in a particular direction. Okay, so these are the signpost words. So what do you mean by direction? So very often you come across some words in speech or writing where you understand that there is more information coming. So these words actually indicate that there is more information coming. And from the type of the signpost word, you can also understand what sort of information are you going to hear further or read further. Okay, so signpost words serve that purpose. Right now, the benefit of using signpost words is that it helps the audiences pay more attention and it makes them understand the topic easily or follow it to the end. Okay, so that is one of the main uses or benefits of signpost words. Now, for the speaker or the writer, signpost words actually enhance fluency because they stop breaks in communication. Okay, so in that way, they make a very smooth transition between ideas, and as a result, they enhance the fluency of the speaker. So here, if you can see, I've included that picture of a woman on a rocket. Okay, so I don't mean that fluency is all about speed, but with such a smooth transition, you feel very empowered and confident and in control of your topic or the lecture that you're giving. Okay, so signposts are those tools that smoothen or enhance your communication. They make it very polished and they make it easily understood. Now, the whole purpose of communication is to put your ideas across in exact way, in the way it is there in your brain. So if you could put that across in meaningful terms without any deviation in meaning, you have succeeded in your communication. So signpost words are the tools that help you do that, to be successful in your communication. Okay, now, signpost words have a wide and varied range. This is a part of vocabulary. Okay, so these are not just confined to one class. Okay, so they are of a wide and varied range, right? And what signpost word you choose depends on what you're trying to say. Okay, so these are actually enhancers to the meaning. Okay, they actually refine the meaning. So you must be wondering, are these similar to stock phrases? Like stock phrases are the phrases like these days, right now, at present, in this day and age, at the end of the day, the truth is. These are some of the examples of stock phrases for you. Now, stock phrases are very different to signpost words, people. Beware of this particular thing because stock phrases are just fillers. They don't do any function of adding to the meaning of an idea. They are just there to avoid pausing. They are used as fillers to keep the continuous flow of speech without actually conveying any sort of significant meaning. So these could be used anywhere. You come across umpteen number of stock phrases every day on television where news anchors, news readers, reporters, etc. These always use a lot of stock phrases. These are also called as fillers. So these are not as good in quality, or they don't enhance the quality of your communication like signpost words do. So signpost words, unlike your stock phrases, are very much a part of the content. Okay, so whatever topic you're trying to talk about or you're trying to explain something, you need or you are in need of these signpost words to convey the right meaning. Okay, so this makes your speech meaningful because of this reason. Okay, so signpost words, as we know, are wide and varied, and they also serve various functions. Okay, they perform various functions. I've made a list of a few here, but again, this is not exhaustive. Signpost words are a whole world on their own, and they have to be explored, they have to be learned constantly, and they have to be used continuously. Okay, a lot of practice would make you very confident with the use of signpost words. So here I've chosen a list of signpost words for you to see. So here the first one is to give an example: add information, show cause and effect, to show the result, compare and contrast, state purpose, focus or refining, emphasis, which is a little bit different to focus, okay, listing, author's voice, start a new section, signal a sequence, introduce a topic, show organization, politely interrupting, okay, or interrupting politely in a conversation, and concluding something. Okay, so as I said, this is not exhaustive, and we're going to deal with each and every one of this in detail, people. So don't worry that you've missed the list. So moving further on, I've used a signpost word just now. So moving further on, that shows you that I'm going to talk about this particular topic in detail. Okay. So always watch out for signpost words when you're listening to something. That is the best way to learn signpost words. I've heard from someone recently on some other YouTube channel that you are learning English when you're not actually trying to learn. Okay, so that's a very beautiful way of putting it. So try to watch out or listen to signpost words when you're listening to something such as a TED Talk. Okay. So guys, let's look at those signpost words that I've mentioned just now, like the list of the signpost words. The first one is giving an example. So you use certain phrases or words that indicate or that signal to the audience that you're going to give some examples. Okay, so let's look at this sentence here. You need to get stationery. So you're talking about stationery, but you're not clear there. So you want to make it clear by saying, for example, pens and pencils. Okay, so when, for example, when a teacher is giving instructions, she might say, you need to get stationery. And students might be asking, ma'am, what sort of stationery do we need to get for tomorrow's class? So, for example, pens and pencils. So that makes it clear. Next one. There are many benefits of learning English. Okay, so here I'm making a statement about the benefits of learning English. Okay, so it wouldn't be clear until I give some examples. So I'm giving example using the phrase such as. So what are the benefits here? Good job prospects, active social life, etc. Well, the benefits of learning English are infinite, numerous and infinite. But here I'm talking about two examples and I'm using the phrase such as. There are many benefits of learning English, such as good job prospects, active social life, etc. Now, people, when you're listening to this lecture, if you have some nice ideas in your mind, you could pause the video there and then and frame your own sentences, okay, using the phrases that I'm mentioning here. And if you like, you can also comment in the comments box, okay, and I'll try my best to give you the appropriate response, okay. Now, the next sentence is, the COVID-19 has affected many countries. Okay, so here I'm talking about many countries, but I'm not saying which one. So to give an example, I'm using the phrase in case of. Okay, so in case of India, I'm citing India as an example. In case of India, there are over 440,000 active cases. So that gives an estimate of how some countries have been affected. Okay, so that's to make it more clearer. Okay, more phrases to introduce examples. So modernization has increased pollution in many cities. Okay, so when I say many cities, the audience would be clueless to what cities I'm talking about. So I'm just giving an example saying a good example of this is my city. Okay, so for example, the film stands as an illustration. Now, illustration is another word used to give example. Okay, that example could be in the form of a picture or something. Okay, so here, I mean, illustration is a word used to denote pictures also, but here, illustrate can also be used for introducing example. So the film stands as an illustration of how resilience can help people succeed in life. Okay, so that film is an example of this particular fact of how resilience can help people succeed in life. Next one, some daily activities can improve your spoken English. Okay, so I'm talking about some daily activities. So it's my duty to give an example to make it clear to the audiences of what sort of activities I'm talking about. Okay, so I give the phrase, for instance, reading a newspaper aloud is good for improving communication. So that is one of the daily activities that you could do. Okay, so people, this is an advice for you as well. So if you want to improve your pronunciation, grab a newspaper in the morning, and most of the smartphones have apps for the popular newspapers in the world. So just you could install that app, download and install, and start reading aloud. Okay, next one. Let's look at another function of signpost words, which is to show cause and effect. Okay, so cause is the stimulus, okay, or the reason why something is happening, and the effect is the happening itself. For example, you have a book on the table, you push it. The push is your cause, and the book moving forward is the effect of that cause. Okay, so cause and effect are stimulus and response, right? So these are interlinked. So look at these examples. So we are able to learn English better because, so it's a very, very common, very regularly used word to indicate cause. That is why the word itself is because. There are plenty of resources available online. So the cause is, there are plenty of resources available online. And the effect is, because of these resources, we are trying to learn English better. Okay, let's look at the next sentence. Since there was no one else to attend the call, the cause was that there was no one to attend the call, because of which the effect was that I picked it up. Since there was no one else to attend the call, I picked it up. So that is cause and effect here. Now, another very polished expression, a formal expression that you could use in your presentations, lectures, seminars, etc., is owing to the fact that, it's a very formal expression. Okay, so owing to the fact that we are understaffed at the moment, so that's the cause. This project cannot be completed on time. So that's the effect. The effect is that the project is going to be delayed. What is the cause? That there isn't enough staff at the moment. Okay, next one. Due to, which is very commonly seen in your textbooks, and we also use it regularly after because. Due to the heavy rains last week, all the crops were destroyed. So the cause is heavy rains and the effect is destruction of crops. Okay, next one. The child stared at the computer screen out of curiosity. So what is the cause here? The child's curiosity is the cause, because of which the child stared at the computer screen. That is the effect. Okay. Now what happens after staring at the computer screen is another effect that I'm not going to talk about here. Okay, so that's very obvious. So the child stared at the computer screen out of curiosity. Look at the next one. There is a marked reduction in this year's intake. What intake are we talking about? You'll know in a second. So this stems from the fact that, okay, that means this particular effect has occurred due to, okay, so this stems from the fact that, now if you can see, this is also a very formal expression which cannot be used in regular conversational English, or in very social context. You can't use this. So in academic perspective or for professional reasons, you could very well use it in your presentations. Okay, so you can imagine yourself on a stage when you're saying this. Okay, so this stems from the fact that there are not many students interested in studying abroad. Okay, so the cause is that many students are not interested in studying abroad, because of which the effect is that there is a marked reduction in this year's intake. Okay, it could be because of the COVID-19, etc. Okay, now you can't use this stems from the fact that for simple things. Okay, so if you say I'm hungry, and this stems from the fact that I missed my breakfast, okay, that would be hilarious. So you couldn't use, or you can't use it for simple reasons. It has to be formal. Now, another very famous and very popular word is as. As our teacher is absent today, we can complete the assignments. The cause is the teacher is absent, and the effect is the students are blessed with some extra time to finish the assignment. Okay. Now, signpost words are there to indicate result as well. Okay, so if you want to talk about the result of one particular thing, you can also use some signpost words and phrases. Okay, so the farmers believed the government's promises. As a result of this, they incurred huge losses. The result of believing in the government's promises is that the farmers incurred huge losses. Okay, as a result of this is a formal expression. Next one. The boy used mobile and computer all day. Consequently is a word used to indicate the result. I mean, what happened after that in sequence. Okay, so consequently, he developed astigmatism. That's a condition of the eye. It's an eye disease. So if you use mobile and computer all day, you develop eye problems. So that is a result of using mobile and computer. Next one. The construction of roads on highways led to the development of the city. So roads and highways were constructed, and the result was the development of the city. So this is how you talk about results. Okay, so it's very clear. Like, for example, you pause your sentence there. Okay, let's see this one. The construction of roads and highways led to, and you stop there. That itself will surely signal or keep the audiences guessing that you're talking about a particular result or consequence of the construction of roads and highways, isn't it? So when the audience is in thinking mode, they're following your talk in a more riveted way. They'll be more interested and they would be following it to the end. Okay, so the businessman was wealthy. Okay, and as a result of this, what happened? He built more companies. So I use the word therefore. Therefore is also a formal expression, and it's used mostly in writing. As you know, we use it in letters. Okay, so the businessman was wealthy, therefore he built more companies. Next one. Look at these phrases or words that are used to express contrast. So contrast is when you're talking about things that are different. Okay, so she was tall, but her sister was short. Okay, so here you're talking about two different things. Now, you might be asking, what is the difference between compare and contrast? So compare actually draws similarities also, whereas contrast is only to describe the differences. Okay, so contrast. Now, people often make great plans for the future. However, now the moment I say however, you understand that I'm going to talk about something that's in total contrast or not in line with the sentence that I mentioned before. Okay, so contrary. So people often make great plans for the future. However, they don't work on them enough. Okay, so just the moment I say however, you understand that I'm saying something negative. Although is another contrast word. So although she worked hard, you understand that maybe it didn't have the result that she expected. Okay, so although she worked hard, see, she never succeeded. Okay, now people, I would like to mention one important thing here for you, that most of the English language learners make a mistake of using although with but. Okay, so for example, they say, although she worked hard, but she never succeeded. Okay, so you can't say that. It's wrong to put although and but in the same sentence because they are both contrast words and they cancel the effect of each other. Okay, so when you have although, though, even though, etc., you can never use but in the same sentence. Okay, so please bear that in mind. Now, next one. Even if you send this letter today, I'm going to stop at that. Okay, and if a person is just listening to this, they would really look forward to me finishing the entire sentence. So even if you send this letter today, maybe it wouldn't reach. That is what you would infer even before I complete the sentence. So see the beauty of signpost words. They make you understand the sentence and be in better control of what you're listening, and they make the speech easier and smooth flowing for the speaker. So dual benefits, right? So even if you send this letter today, they won't be able to receive it until Thursday. So that is very obvious, isn't it? Because of the word even if. Next one, despite being rich. Okay, now being rich means the ability to do a lot of things, right? Being rich enables us to do what we want to do. But here we are using the word despite. Okay, now people haven't included it here in the slide, but despite exactly means in spite of. For that reason, you can't use the phrase despite of. It has to be either in spite of or despite, because we often hear people saying despite of, which is wrong. Okay, so you should say despite being rich, they never went on a vacation. Next one. It was cold yesterday, but in contrast, it's very hot today. Here you don't even need to use but. You could just simply say in contrast. Okay, so this is a very common way of saying but. Okay, it was cold yesterday, but in contrast, it's very hot today. So that is two different things. Next, you also use signpost words to state purpose of something. The very first sentence in a presentation could be, the aim of this video is to teach signpost words. Yes, guys, I'm talking about my video. So the aim of this video is to teach signpost words. I should have said that in the very beginning, but it doesn't make any difference. Okay, so whenever you're trying to tell the audience what you're going to talk about, you say the aim of this lecture, the aim of this seminar, the aim of this talk, the aim of this discussion, etc. So you're stating the purpose there. Next one, we are taking the shortest route in order to reach on time. So in order mentions the purpose of why you are taking the shortest route. The purpose is to reach on time. You don't want to have any delays. You want to avoid delays. So you are taking the shortest route. So for that, you're telling the people that in order to reach on time, we are taking the shortest route. So that's made very clear. And no questions will be asked further. Okay, she asked for donations with the intention of helping the poor. Okay, now people, these sentences, all of them are made up. Okay, so if you have any clarification or if you have any suggestions for me, please leave them in the comments box. Okay, so she asked for donations with the help of or with the intention of helping the poor. So with the intention is setting the purpose. What is the purpose here? To help the poor. So she asked for donations with the intention of the poor. Go to the next one. Now, often we make general statements that leave the audiences rather clueless, okay, or they're not very clear about what you're trying to say. So in that case, you grab the attention or you focus the audiences to the particular aspect that you're trying to say. Okay, so look at the sentence, you'll understand more. So the scheme was essentially meant for public welfare. Okay, so you're focusing on the fact that the scheme was meant for public welfare. The essentially word means that it was fundamentally, it was only meant for public welfare. Maybe it got diverged later. Okay, so you're trying to focus on this particular aspect of public welfare for which the scheme was introduced. So essentially means fundamentally here. Okay, so look at the refinement that the sentence has with the word essentially introduced in it. See it without essentially, the scheme was meant for public welfare. So it's a very plain, very lucid statement without any effect. Okay, so but when you say essentially, it was fundamentally meant for public welfare and maybe something else happened later. So you're focusing on that particular aspect of public welfare for which the scheme was introduced. Next one, the results are disappointing. What results? So you're focusing on this particular aspect that saying here we are looking at only two categories. So you're talking about the results of only two categories or maybe two classes. Okay, so you're focusing on that particular thing. The real estate market has slumped. That means it has gone down. So such slowdown is unprecedented. Okay, so such brings you to the attention of the real estate market, brings your attention to the real estate market saying that such slowdown is unprecedented. That means it has never been seen before. Okay, so the real estate market has slumped. Such slowdown is unprecedented. More phrases with focus. Okay, so India has been severely affected by COVID-19. So this is a very general statement and you're trying to shift the focus of the audience on particular thing that is large cities. So you're talking about the fact that the damage is particularly severe in large cities. Okay, so this makes it very refined, very as the word says particularly, it gives you that particular detail. Okay, and it's not the same as giving example. Okay, because you're talking about the damage that has been done. Okay, the effects of COVID-19, and you're particularly talking about large cities. Okay, and let's look at the next sentence. You'll understand more. You must work on your English speaking skills. Okay, I just said that, but I don't know which English speaking skills you're talking about. So to be specific, you need to improve your fluency. Here, you're not giving fluency as an example of speaking skills, but you're talking about the specific skill of fluency that you have to improve. Okay, so you're focusing, you're grabbing the attention of the listener to one particular aspect of English speaking skills. Okay, so that is fluency. You must work on your English speaking skills. To be specific, you need to improve your fluency. Okay, guys, wherever you have any doubt or wherever you want to stop and ponder, just pause the video and you could do your own activity. Right, and if you need any clarification, suggestions, or if you want to say something, please leave them in the comment box. Okay, that would make it easier for me to understand how you're taking it and how effective my classes are. Right, so moving on to the next sentence, implementation of vaccines has to be done extensively. I made a statement saying it has to be done extensively. And you're focusing on this particular aspect saying to emphasize people in villages have to benefit. Okay, so this is about focus and refinement, people. Now, another thing is very close in meaning to focus, but it's not exactly similar. So emphasis is where you're trying to stress on one particular topic. Okay, you're saying one aspect, but you're trying to emphasize, you're giving it extra importance. Okay, so that exercise was definitely tough. You're stressing on the fact that it was tough. So you're using the word definitely. There's no doubt about it, surely. Okay, the answer is obviously wrong. Okay, so obviously something that is very evident, that is easy to see, easy to understand. So you're stressing on the fact that it was very easy to understand that the answer was wrong. Next one, the test failed inevitably. Inevitable is something that's unavoidable. So when you say the test failed inevitably, that means no one could stop the test from failing. So the test failed inevitably due to the lack of quality control. I forgot to include the article before lack of quality. So the test failed inevitably due to the lack of quality control. So you're stressing on the fact that the test was meant to fail because of the lack of quality control. Next one, technology has undeniably opened up new avenues. Undeniable is something that you can't disagree. It has surely opened up new avenues. Would you agree with me? Yes, it has completely made a complete 360 degrees change, right? Let's go to the, or is it 180 degrees? Sorry, guys. Now, next one, author's voice. The signpost words used to express the author's personal opinion or the author's take on something is author's voice. Okay, so we use some words for that sake. So here, clearly, this government is irresponsible. Or I should have said this government is responsible for the death of farmers. Okay, so sorry about the typo there. So this government is responsible for the death of the farmers, and the author says clearly, that is his personal opinion. Okay, now mostly, let's look at the second sentence. I'll tell you something. So the tsunami caused a huge damage. Okay, so that's a fact. Now the author is again saying in fact. Now mostly when a speaker says in fact, it has to be his opinion rather than a fact, isn't it? So if it is a fact, you don't have to use the word in fact. So when you're listening to a word called in fact, you should understand that the author is trying to say something from his own perspective. So the tsunami caused a huge damage. In fact, it is a wonder how a few people survived. So this is the opinion of the author. I mean, he's really doubtful. How did some other people survive when everyone died? So that is the author's voice, right? Now, next one. The whole family succumbed. That means they fell prey to the disease. The whole family succumbed to the disease. Interestingly, the old woman survived. Okay, so the fact is that the entire family has succumbed to the disease, and the author finds it interesting that the old woman survived when everyone else died. So it's highly unlikely for a person of an old age to survive a disease or to fight a disease. But interestingly, this is what the author finds interesting. So interestingly, the old woman survived. Next one, she's arguably one of the most underrated actors. So arguably is when you can argue on a particular aspect. You're so confident about it. Okay, so she's arguably one of the most underrated actors. Okay, next one. Many people won awards, but certainly he deserved the most coveted one. Okay, so this is your opinion, certainly, for sure. Right? So when you're trying to bring your own perspective into light, you use certain phrases like this. And this is mostly in speaking, guys. You don't use it in formal writing, but you use in informal writing. Okay, so go to more sentences about author's voice. So her research has contributed importantly to our understanding of the disease. So the writer or the author or the speaker considers that her research has contributed in an important way to our understanding of the disease. Okay, so the understanding of the disease has been enhanced by her research. So that is why he thinks that understanding or enhancing the understanding of the disease is one of the important results of the research of a particular scientist. Okay, I hope that is clear. She suffered a disc prolapse. Okay, this is a condition of the spinal cord. So she suffered a disc prolapse and was evidently in great pain. So read the sentence without evidently. She suffered a disc prolapse and was in great pain. So you're just stating what has happened. But when you say evidently, the author is adding his voice. The author says that it was very much obvious to see. It was very much clear that she was in great pain. It could be easily understood. Next one. I thought he was honest. So that was my presumption. But apparently he was not. Apparently he was not. Apparently means by the looks of it, by the appearance. So when I thought he was honest, he might have done something wrong or something bad, because of which I started believing that he was not honest. Okay, moving further, let's have a look at another signpost, which is starting a new section, right? So when you're giving a lecture or a presentation or some sort of seminar, you always intend to divide your work into different sections, and for that sake you indicate to the audience that you're going to move to the next chapter or next lesson, etc. So the kind of phrases that you would use would be, let's move on to the next chapter. Okay, moving on further, we would be looking at the causes and symptoms of the disease. So you've looked at one aspect of the disease till now, and further you're going to look at the causes and symptoms of the disease. Okay, and another one quite straightforward is the next topic I'd like to focus on is question tags. Okay, so guys, if you're interested in learning about question tags, you can leave in the comment section below, and my next video would be a lecture on question tags. Okay, now question tags are the interesting aspect of English, just as many other aspects. So question tags are very commonly and extensively used in foreign countries where English is spoken as the language of communication. So obviously, for that reason, the next topic I'd like to focus on is question tags. So that makes a great example here. Okay, I'd like to expand on this topic. That's another way of starting a new section. Okay, now moving further, the next signpost would be to signal a sequence. Okay, so if you can see that picture in the background, I've chosen some funny images for you to make you understand what a sequence is. So what happens after one thing. Okay, so all these things come in a row, a sequence. So when you're talking about things that happen one after the other, that's a sequence, and you use phrases like or words like firstly, secondly, thirdly, and finally. And I've chosen the things that are important and that come in a sequence in learning English here for examples. Okay, so firstly, let's work on fluency. So that's one of the very initial or the exercises that focus on learning English in the beginning stages would be to improve fluency. So firstly, let's work on fluency, and secondly, we will move on to vocabulary. Okay, so vocabulary is all the words that you come across. And guys, I must mention here before I forget that one of the best way to learning new words is to read extensively. By that I mean reading anything and everything that you come across, right from newspapers, magazines, journals, books. There is a plethora, or there is a world of literature out there for you right now. So fiction, non-fiction, self-help, there's so many categories. Whatever is of your interest, just grab one of those works and bury your head into it. And honestly, that's the only way to develop command over language. So reading extensively, and when you read, you come across new words, and that is one of the most natural ways of learning vocabulary compared to rote learning or memorization, or learning a list of words and doing analysis in classes using in your own words. All these are secondary. Even the etymological or the root word analysis is secondary, but the very nice way, very easy or effortless and most natural way of learning vocabulary is to read a lot. So guys, make use of the Kindle app on your mobile. You have Audible, which is audiobooks. So whatever you come across, just grab it and start learning the language, okay, with the help of reading. And thirdly is another word which we use for signaling a sequence. So thirdly, we will learn basic grammar. So the further steps in learning language would be to improve your correctness, your accuracy of expression. So learning grammar will make you correct in meaning. Okay, so guys, hope I'm not confusing you with signpost words and learning English language on the whole. So these expressions are just to signal a sequence, and whatever steps I'm talking about are just to give examples of how you could learn language in sequence. Okay, and finally, I'll teach you phonetics. So finally is like the last step that you follow in language learning, which is to improve your pronunciation, because believe it or not, pronunciation alters the meaning of words a great big deal. So you don't want to fall into trouble just because you can't say a word the way it has to be said. Okay, so phonetics finally. So that is signaling a sequence. And moving on to the next signpost, which is introducing a topic. This has to be in the beginning, but never mind. It's a fairly straightforward thing, and there's so many expressions for the same, but for some reason people fumble in the beginning. So this is just to avoid that. So I'm going to be talking about the advantages of vaccines. Okay, so that is one example. I'm here to talk about the importance of vocabulary in communication. I'd like to talk about words and their origins. Okay, that's another example. I'm going to give you information on current trends in language research. Okay, I'd like to throw light on. Okay, this is a very less oftenly used word, and you could also say I've chosen to talk about when they ask you to select a topic, okay, or talk about a topic of your choice. So you could say I've chosen to talk about. That's another way. Right, the next one is to show organization. So when you talk about a particular topic, you want to break it into manageable or understandable chunks. So that is how you demonstrate your mastery over that particular topic. So you show organization, saying that this topic can be divided into 3 parts, or you might have made a number of points about that particular topic. So that's your way of organization. So you could say I have a number of points to make about this topic, or there are 3 important aspects to this. Okay, so that demonstrates the fact that you've done your groundwork and you're able to come up with something very meaningful. Organization. Okay, I'd like to begin with. So that's how you want to start. Right, and moving on further, you have as a part of your debates and discussions, like for your job selection process, this transition from academic career to professional career requires a great amount of analytical skills, the ability to analyze a topic. Okay, so as a part of job screening, this is essential, and students can't escape this, and this is such a popular part of campus placements these days. So analyzing is an essential part of a group discussion or a debate where you have more than 4 or 5 people talking about a particular topic. Now people, if you've watched discussion panels on national television regarding news items, news articles, news things, you see people trying to put their point of view across. Okay, so every time you make analysis of something, you want to talk about the consequences of something, or you want to explain something in detail, or something that's very cryptic or very not easy to be understood. You try to make it much more easily understood even by laypersons. Okay, and you talk about why that topic is important, and how that would affect people in the future, how it was in past. So this is all analysis of a particular topic. Okay, so when you're analyzing, we use expressions such as where does this lead us to. So that would talk about the consequences or effects of some particular topic. Someone might have committed a crime, or something might have happened of national significance. So you would talk about like, where does this lead us to? Okay, what does this mean? Now when you say what does this mean, you're trying to explain what you've just stated that is very general in sense. Okay, so you might use a different set of words, or you might go into a greater detail to explain that. So that is actually explanation translated into real terms. So that is when your data or information is not easily understood, especially in business terms. When you want to describe the profits and losses of an organization, the information might be like cryptic. It might be in the form of a graph or a chart or statistics or an Excel sheet. To make that clear, you might say, translated into real terms, this would mean a 3-fold profit for the company next year. Okay, so that's easier way of talking about it. Now, why is this important? When you pose this question, the audience starts paying attention to your talk. Okay, and they also start thinking why that could be important. Now, speakers use these kind of phrases to get some interaction with audience as well. Okay, so why is this important? And you could ask follow it up and answer this question. Okay, the significance of this is that is also talking about the importance of something, right? The next signpost word is polite interruptions. Okay, how to interrupt someone politely in a conversation or a discussion, right? So you could use phrases like, may I add something, or can I say something? Okay, and if it is a little bit informal, you could say, guys, I have something to say. If it's like a peer group, all people are of your same age, then you could say, guys, I have something to say. Now, that reminds me, this could be a little intrusive if you are saying this to unfamiliar persons. Okay, so try to say it to people who you know. And sorry to interrupt is a very formal expression there. And can I stop you there for a second? Okay, that is also, it's not rude or it's not informal. It's a semi-formal. Okay, so you could say that to colleagues, okay, of your own stature, social stature. Okay, I don't mean to be rude, but, okay, this is also a polite way of saying that. And pardon me is something very popular, we know that. Right, a few more here. So can you speak more about? So if you see, interrupting someone doesn't always have to be to put your point across. It could also be to ask them to extrapolate or expand on their ideas a little bit more. So you could say, could you speak more about what you've just explained? Okay, or you could say, can we pause for a second? And you could ask someone to take a turn. Like, Janet, would you like to talk more about it? Can we pause for a second? Janet, would you like to talk more about this? That's just for example. Okay, now, but what about? Okay, when you're saying but what about, it might be a bit intrusive and rude if your insight was not called for, if you were not asked to speak yet, or it could be like when you're talking in a semi-formal situation, it's fine, but not at a professional level. Okay, why don't we? Again, it depends on the level of rapport you have with people in the group. And how about, that's also for suggestions. Right now, finally, conclusion. To sum up, the project was a great experience. Okay, so in the end, on the whole, to sum up. Now, the next set of phrases I've used to give you some sort of instructions about this lecture and about English learning, so don't get confused, people. So that sums up the lecture on vocabulary. So I'm talking about this particular lecture on signpost words that I've just done. And to summarize, students need to read more. As I mentioned, reading is one of the best ways to improve vocabulary. And again, listening should also be included. Okay, so listening would make you understand the flow of ideas and the way letters make sounds. Okay, the sounds of letters. So definitely you have to read and listen more. The more you take in, the better your expression would be. And another expression to say conclusion is, in conclusion, practice is essential for speaking confidently. Now that is true of every other skill that you learn in your life. Okay, the more you do something, the better you get at it. Okay, so try speaking confidently and start off with your friends and family members, and speaking to yourself. Some people love to record their own voice, so if you want to record and play it back to yourself, if you feel confident that way, you could do that. Anything it would take to improve the flow of your speech, and once you are confident of the sounds that you're making and the points that you're putting across, you will fall in love with your own speech, and the benefits will be very evident after that. Okay, so in essence, signpost words improve the quality of speech and writing. That's what I'm trying to say overall. And in a nutshell, you must use signpost words very often. So people, what are you waiting for? You can pause this video, rewind, forward, whatever you want to do, and try to get hold of the signpost words and see in what situations, what context, and what sort of meanings can you express using the signpost words that I've mentioned in this video. And if you have any new ideas, insights, suggestions for improvement, or any sort of queries, you can always leave in the comments box below, and I would respond to you at the earliest I can. Okay, so thank you for watching this video. If you like it, just hit the like button and share and subscribe to my channel. Thank you very much.